Hello everyone, thank you for joining us today and welcome to this educational presentation. Now today I'd like to talk to you about Specialist Trading's triple threat of trading. These are three of our most consistent methods, and then when we put them together they really form this high probability way of trading, a real advantage to adding to your consistency in trading. For example, let me show you a few situations here how you can use the triple threat. As we look at this chart here in VIAC, obviously in hindsight, the stock has been going straight up since the beginning of the year, right? But how could we have taken advantage of this? Well, the strategies would have generated not only 4 buy signals, but they also would have confirmed that these buy signals were going higher with a high probability for success, so that potentially you could have captured upwards of 50 points. Now, at the same time, I stress that this is a confirmation tool. One of the best advantages of our triple threat is not only getting you into really high probability situations like this, but also keeping you out of negative situations. For example, as we look at this chart here in CVS, this was just a couple of weeks ago. Obviously, it looks like we've been going up, but let's say with that last bar here, it looks like a reversal has taken place, right? And so perhaps you think it's overbought, and maybe one of your strategy signals generated a sell signal. So what the third component of the triple threat does is it confirms whether this is a valid signal to take. And as you can see, it did not confirm this signal, so therefore it would have kept you out of a losing trade. Now, everything you're seeing here today was generated using the PET-D Primo charting platform. This is the educational platform that actually teaches you how to trade with a triple threat. So welcome once again. My name is Steven Primo. I'm the president and founder of Specialist Trading. If you're new to my webinars, we are all about educating you as a trader. We feel that that's really what's missing from most traders' trading plan. You know, everyone buys some $10,000 system, or they go to some chat room or follow some so-called trading guru. But usually, most traders I have seen don't make their own trading decisions. And the reason this is, in my opinion, is because you've taken yourself out of the game. You feel you don't have enough knowledge or experience or wherewithal. So you're basically telling the markets, I don't know what to do. Why don't you in that trading room tell me what you're buying or selling? Or why don't my brother-in-law down the street tell me what to buy or sell? Or maybe that guy on TV. But this is really a recipe for disaster and one of the main causes for traders losing. You have to be in the game and make your own trading decisions. And this is where we come in. As an educational company, we supply you with the tips, techniques, and strategies that have really shown high levels of consistency over the years. I've been trading for 44 years, and that's where we get all the information on the things that I have personally seen that work over time and that I use in my own personal trading. So we are first and foremost here to educate you so that you can ultimately become a consistent trader and be in charge of your own trading destiny. That's our policy. That's our company concept of what we want to do as an educational company. Now, I have a lot of information to share with you and teach you today, but as always, we are first required by law to share this with you. So please take a moment to view our disclaimer. I'm going to show you a lot of performance results with a lot of examples of the triple threat in action, but please remember that we can in no way guarantee that any of the results I'm about to share with you will be repeated in the future. Also, since we are an educational company, all examples you're going to be seeing are strictly for educational purposes only. Now, a lot of our students and members and people that are looking forward to becoming students would like to get more information and like to learn more about what we do and our philosophy about trading. So I invite each and every one of you to follow us on Twitter. There's our handle right there, abbreviation for Specialist Trading. I post different information on a daily basis. It'll give you a better idea as to how we like to trade and how we view trading. A lot of signals from some of our strategies, as well as little bits of financial wisdom. So feel free to follow us on Twitter and get some education on a daily basis. Okay, now remember, as I stated, it's one of our beliefs that the main reason why traders fail is because you're basically giving your power away. You're not in charge of your trading. So that's really the gap we fill. That's the service we provide. As an educator, my goal is not to trade for you. It's not to force feed you signals, but simply to teach you how to trade with the specialist edge. When I was first starting trading roughly 44 years ago on the floor of the Pacific Stock Exchange, I had a very difficult time trying to put things together and understand exactly what I was doing. I was doing the same things probably many of you are doing right now, like focusing on what a guru is buying or selling, or maybe focusing on the earnings or some convoluted indicator or some economic announcement. And trust me, it didn't work then, so it's not about to start working now. I was taught by my mentors things that have stood the test of time, and that's what I do with all of our students around the world. In over 115 countries and in every state in the United States, I teach them all the things that have stood the test of time. This is a specialist edge. It's rooted in simplicity. Hopefully, it will one day be able to sustain your trading as it did mine, okay? Now, this is an educational class. Excuse me. If you have any questions, please wait till the very end. I promise I'll get to them, each and every one of them, but if we stop for every slide, we're going to be here far too long on your Wednesday morning or afternoon. So please, if you have a question, wait till the very end. The only question I will answer is this one. It's the most, probably the most popular one, and that is this being recorded? Yes, it is. We record all of our webinars. If you have to leave early, or if you're having technical issues, don't worry, you will be sent a link to this recording. Excuse me. So let us begin today's presentation, and let's talk about this triple threat. Now, threat number one is a very popular strategy as well as powerful one. It's one that I was first introduced to some 4 decades ago, and one I continue to use in my own personal trading. This is strategy number 4. Let me share with you some of the highlights behind this particular method. It's designed for traders looking to catch and identify momentum. And the way it does this is through a pattern recognition. And the way this pattern recognition works is that it repeats itself over and over again. You're going to see it in virtually any market or any time frame. It's a high probability pattern to take a signal based on. And the simplicity of strategy number 4 is that it only uses one indicator. That's the 50-period moving average. And this way it identifies whether you should be buying or selling. In other words, if you see this pattern above the 50-period moving average, it'll be a buy pattern. If you see it below, it'll be a sell pattern. But you never want to do the opposite. If you see the pattern below the 50, you'll never want to buy off that. It's always got to be used in relation to the 50-period moving average. Now, one of the beauties of strategy number 4, and something that you see a lot, is that, remember, it's designed to identify momentum. But it often does this when it looks as if the market is stagnant, when it's not doing anything at all. So this is one of the great advantages you have to this method. You can get into something when it's relatively quiet, when it looks as if there's no movement at all. And strategy number 4, based on this pattern, is recognizing that there's a big move about to happen. For example, let's look at this example in MAR. This was just a month ago in the middle of February. To the normal trader, someone who doesn't really know much about trading, they would say, well, this is a sideways market, Steve. That chat room I go to says we should avoid these because there's really nothing much happening here. And I'll look for a breakout either to the upside or to the downside. But here's the beauty of strategy number 4. It actually identified a buy signal well into that sideways market. So it was telling you that momentum is building up, and most likely there's going to be a nice move to the upside. And as we can see later on in the week, the stock rose 28 points before anyone else could see that. That's the beauty of strategy number 4. Now, this also works to the downside. For example, someone looking at this would say, well, Steve, that $10,000 course I took follows the institutions, and there's major support here. Look at that double bottom, and they're starting to buy this, so I think I'm going to buy it too, okay? Let's see if strategy 4 was able to identify any momentum to the upside. As we apply strategy 4, we see that it did generate a signal, but to the downside. It was identifying that there was a strong probability for a move to the downside. So rather than rely on the institutions, who, in my opinion, have no higher level of consistency than anything else, I would rely on this pattern that appears over and over again. Because as you can see, the stock quickly fell 7 points. Now, what happened to all the institutional support? Here's another example here. Now, sometimes it takes a while for a signal to kick in. As we look here at ACAD, obviously it looks like a directionless market, right? There's actually no direction in this. Why would you want to get involved in a stock that's just been going sideways for weeks? Well, if we applied strategy number 4, we see that a couple of weeks ago, a sell signal had already been generated at the top of that kind of directionless market. And even though you had to wait a couple of weeks, it ultimately kicked in, and look at the nice 26-point gain that you could have potentially taken advantage of. So as you see, sometimes it does take a little while for the move to be produced, but oftentimes it doesn't take any more than 1 bar. For example, here's another directionless market. This time, the stock's been going for almost 4 weeks of sideways action. But if we applied strategy number 4, we see right here that it was telling us there's going to be movement to the upside. And in one day, the stock rose 57 points. So oftentimes, strategy number 4 will take a little bit of time before it kicks in. Oftentimes it won't. It'll generate a signal right before the move. That's the beauty of this particular method. All right, so that is threat number 1. Let's move on to another threat. Let's move on to another method that we really feel has high levels of consistency based on completely different rules, and that is strategy number 5. All right, some of the highlights of this particular method. It's a non-traditional candlestick method. All right, a lot of times you've heard me say things, and a lot of prospective students will say, well, Steve, so you don't trade candlesticks, you don't like candlesticks very much. That's not true. I don't like the traditional way candlestick trading is taught. This is a non-traditional way that has a higher level of consistency. And this method can be applied to all candlestick patterns. And once again, it only uses one indicator. That's the 50-period simple moving average. Now, the difference between this and strategy number 4, once again, even though they are basically pattern-based, what we're relying on this is different because this is actually looking many times for a move already to be generated. So oftentimes you'll see a strong move to the upside, and you'll see strategy number 5 signal being generated to buy even then. And to the downside as well. You'll see a strong move to the downside, and just when you think, well, it's already run its course, strategy 5 will continue to find sell signals all the way down. Completely different from strategy number 4's market behavior. For example, we look at GBHT here. This was a month ago. As we see, we were in a nice strong uptrend. At this point, someone would say, well, Steve, we're running into resistance right here. Maybe we should take our profits and get out. Well, according to strategy number 5, it generated a buy signal right here, close to the top of that uptrend, and still could have squeezed out another 15 points out of the stock. And as the stock continued to go higher, strategy number 5 generated more buy signals. You see how this is different from strategy number 4. It's not waiting for momentum to, be generated off a pattern. It's saying, listen, there's already momentum. We're going to jump in if we see some more room to the upside or the downside. Here's another example. This one in CHKP. Obviously, we've been in a downtrend, right? But, it would have been nice to short up at the top there, but obviously the stock has gone down. Maybe we don't want to short. Maybe we should actually consider buying. Remember, there's major Fibonacci support right here. All right, you took all those courses in Fibonacci, so this is major Fibonacci support. We can't sell now. We've got to think about buying. Well, strategy number 5 actually generated not 1, but 2 sell signals right at the bottom of that downtrend. And potentially, you could have captured another 9 more points. Now, here's the one thing about both of these methods. As we see right here, remember, you can still have a nice uptrend. All along the way here, you have some kind of pausing places, okay? Pausing right here, up move. Pausing right here, up move. And so forth. But strategy number 5 will not wait for that pause. It'll jump in right when it's taking off, and you could potentially capture 50 points. So you see the potential of both of these methods. They're both different. They are both based on different set of rules, but they're looking for specific patterns. One is a candlestick, one is a proprietary pattern. But here's the thing. Even though they have high levels of consistency, losses are inevitable. I don't want you to think that they never lose. That's perfectly okay. Stocks, futures, currency pairs will go into different environments and cause these signals not to be as highly profitable as you once would have seen in a strong trend. For example, here's a buy signal generated in Tesla. This was just last month. And then look what happened, okay? Didn't work out well. Here's another sell signal that was generated in BBY. This was just a few weeks ago. You're thinking, okay, well, it's gone up. All right, this is this is a triple threat sell signal, so I guess I should sell. What happened, right? So losses will be inevitable. We have to protect ourselves. But is there a way to filter many of these out? Is there a way to add some type of filter so at least we'll know what the high probability signals are and which ones don't hold that higher level of consistency? This brings us now to threat number 3. This is the PET-D. You heard me talk about it before. Let me give you a little bit of explanation. We see a lot of new people in today's presentation. So for those of you who are not familiar with the PET-D, what exactly is it? Well, It's a proprietary algorithm. I was introduced to this some 4 decades ago when I was on the floor of the Pacific Stock Exchange. At that time, we had to calculate it by hand, almost on a tick-by-tick basis. That's how sensitive it was. So it was very difficult to do. I wouldn't expect any of my students to sit there with a calculator and a pencil and calculate every single tick of whatever you're watching. That would be far too cumbersome, and it wouldn't be fair to you. So here's the good news. We've designed it with the help of ProTrader Strategies and some of their engineers and programmers. We've made it a color bar tool. So what we've done is taken the hard work out of it for you. We've kept the algorithm in-house, all the rules, but that's okay. All you have to do is learn how to apply this color bar tool. Now, the color bar tool simply tells you the short-term trend. That's one of the basic features of the PET-D. It's a short-term trend identifier, and it does this by coloring the bars either green for an uptrend, red for a downtrend. For example, as we look at this chart, and obviously it looks like we're in an uptrend, right? So you jump in and buy, and then this happens, okay? See, that's the trouble with most trending features, either something that you're just viewing off of your own insight or intuition, or something that you've studied or some other tool. They're usually a day late and $1 short. We want something that's more sensitive. Well, that's what the PET-D is, because it's basically a translator. It's translating on a tick-by-tick basis what the market wants to do. And it does this by translating to you in either a green bar or a red bar. So rather than at this point here decide that, well, I guess we're going up, we should buy. Once we apply the PET-D, we see that well in advance, the bars were green well in advance, way down here. And even though it's not designed to pick a top or bottom, it told you well in advance that the colors had changed for a downtrend. So now that we know what the PET-D is, how are we going to use it as our third threat? Well, here is the best way to use it with those strategies, as a signal confirmation tool. This is one of the most powerful ways to apply the PET-D. There are literally dozens of ways to use it, as its own tool for generating setups, or even as a stop placement. But right now, in the triple threat, as a signal confirmation tool, you're going to see how much more it elevates your probabilities for consistency. Now, here is the way we'll use it, okay? Let's say we get a buy signal in strategy number 4 or strategy number 5. We're only going to take the trade if the signal bars, these are the bars above the arrows or below the arrows, are colored green, okay? Now, if we get a sell signal, either in strategy 4 or 5, we'll only take the sell signal that's below the arrow that's colored red. It's that simple, but that powerful. Let me show you what I mean here. Let's go back and look at that example in Tesla. Remember, just about a month ago, we had a buy signal that was generated, and it would have turned into a great loss, as you can see here, went straight down the next week. If you had held on, most likely you would have turned into a long-term investor, thinking, well, I guess I got to hold on now, wait for this to come back. And we all have been there before. We don't want to make trading that way. We want it to be more consistent. So how could the triple threat help us? Well, first thing we do is apply the PET-D. As you can see on our platform, all you have to do is click on the PET-D tab right here. The colors automatically change. And if we get a buy signal, the bar above it should be colored green. So what color is it? It's colored red. So that's not a confirmed signal. So therefore, we would not have taken the trade and obviously not have lost any money. Do you see how this can keep you out of trouble? Let's look at that other example in BBY. Remember, a sell signal was generated. Looked like a good one. It was at the top of that little run up there. The stock looked overbought, and we thought, well, we're going to make a lot of money to the downside here. But then it went straight up for the next couple of weeks. How could the triple threat have helped us with the PET-D? Well, once again, we just click on the PET-D, automatically changes the colors. And remember, if we're going to take the sell signal, it has to color it red. What color is the bar? Even though it's a down day, the bar is colored green. So what's that telling us? It's telling us the third portion of the triple threat, the PET-D, is not confirming. Remember, strategy 4 and strategy 5 will give you these high probabilities for consistency, but they're not always going to be correct. You're going to see some bad signals every once in a while. Is there a way to filter out some of them? Remember, we're not going to filter out everything. There's absolutely no way to do that, but a good portion of them can be filtered out by applying the PET-D. That's the third portion. So remember, when we filter out these high probability setups and keep the bad signals at bay, We combine these three methods and we get what we call specialist trading's triple threat of trading. These are very, very high probability setups. Two really high probability strategies along with a signal confirmation tool. This is our triple threat of trading. So let's look at some current examples. Now you understand how the format works. Now you understand the process. Let's share with you some current examples. And on top of that, everything you're going to be seeing has been generated using the platform, the PTS Primo charting platform that teaches you how to trade with the triple threat. I'm going to go through the process that you can go through on a nightly basis and see how simple it is to trade on our platform and to trade with the triple threat. All right, let's look at that example we talked about earlier in Marriott. Okay, once again, most traders would say, Steve, a sideways market, we can't take this trade, but here's the process you would go through. Click on strategy number 4. In the drop-down menu, click on signal arrow. And even though we teach you what to look for, this is a great way to check your work. In other words, it's like having your own personal mentor or myself sitting next to you and you saying, hey, Steve, I think there's a buy or sell signal there. I just want to confirm it. Well, even though I can't be right next to you 24/7, you can check by using and applying the platform. So if you're correct, a signal arrow will appear. And guess what? You were correct. There was a valid buy signal. But remember, we're using the triple threat. So the next thing we want to do is confirm that signal. Click on the PET-D in the upper green strategy tab, and the colors automatically change. So what color is that bar above the arrow? Even though all the other bars are colored green, we're only concerned with the bar that is directly above the arrow, and it's outlined green. So great. We have a confirmation. It's your choice now. Remember, it's all about you making the decision. This is not a system where you have to take every signal, no matter what. We don't believe in that. We want you to decide your own destiny as a trader. So it's up to you, but you have a real nice high probability setup in front of you. You can buy the stock or you can buy the options. It makes no difference. It's your choice, but it would have been a wise one. The stock generated 28-point gain that you potentially could have captured. Now, some of our students will take 2 or 3 points and say, thank you, I'm out. Others will take a little bit more. Others will try to stay in as long as possible. The good news is that in the triple threat course, we not only teach you what to look for, we also provide you with 6 or 7 different exit points, 6 or 7 different stop placements, and 6 or 7 different entry points as well. So we're trying to give you this smorgasbord of, or buffet line of choices so that ultimately you can decide. The basic pattern stays the same. It highlights where a signal is. But how you decide to enter, how you decide to exit, how you decide to protect the trade is entirely up to you. Remember, the only way one becomes consistent in my over 4 decades of trading is by making your own trading decisions, not by simply going to a chat room and finding out what they like and then doing whatever they're doing. That is, in my opinion, that's the best way I know of how to lose money. All right, let's look at another example here. This is an SNPS. Obviously, we're in a downtrend, right? But you can't sell now because guess what? It's gone down too quickly. And on top of that, once again, we took that $10,000 course and they told us that the institutions are always right, that indicator that follows the institution. So we've got to be in sync with them, right? Because most likely it's going to go up. Well, remember, you can do whatever you want, but I wouldn't follow the institutions more than I would follow someone who's never traded before, because I traded with the institutions when I was on the floor of the exchange, and I had the worst track record of any trading format or broker I knew. So I wouldn't follow them at all. I would rather do as my mentors taught me: listen to the market. What's the market telling me? Well, let's say I think I see a signal here, a strategy 5 signal. So I click on strategy 5 to check my work, because remember, we teach you what to look for. This is not just meant as a black box system, where you say, well, I don't really know what I'm trading or why I'm trading. I'm just going to click on the arrows. No, you have to know why a signal was generated. So to check your work, click on strategy 5, click on signal arrows, and you're right. You're starting to see how simple it is to trade once you properly identify your own signals, not someone else's. Now, in order to take this signal up a notch in terms of consistency, you want to confirm it. This is part of the triple threat. So click on the PET-D, and if that bar is colored red, That's a confirmed signal. And remember, if all the bars are red, that's great, but it doesn't matter. All that matters is that the bar below the arrow is colored red. So let's see what color it was. Yep, not only was it red, but all the bars are red. So great. So you can decide to go short, or let's say you were long and you're thinking, wow, I can't be in this now. That was a wise decision because the stock fell 30 points in the next 4 days, okay? This was just coming into a few weeks ago. Let's look at this example we talked about earlier in MORF. How could we have taken that signal that in 1 day had a really nice move? Well, this was a strategy 4 buy signal. Remember, strategy 4, not all the time, but oftentimes will generate signals when it looks like nothing is happening. For example, this stock for a month in February was doing absolutely nothing. But a buy signal was generated on the 26th, just about a month ago. In order to make sure you want to take it, all you have to do is apply the PET-D, and even though the bars before were red, all we're concerned about is the bar above the arrow. It's outlined green. So it's your choice. You could have taken this, and that would have been a wise one. The stock was up 57 points the next day, okay? Let's look at another example here, COST, Costco. Here's another example of how strategy number 4 works. Remember, even though we have 3 sell signals in a row, nothing much has happened in the past month. It's gone down, then back up, down, back up. So you're saying to yourself, well, how come it didn't work like that other one where it went up in 1 day? Every once in a while, you'll get these setups where nothing happens for a while. So you have to know that going in. But had you confirmed this, you would have seen that every bar below those red arrows was red. So these are high probability signals, even though nothing has happened yet. And ultimately, at the beginning of March, this kicked in for a nice 50-point drop, okay? So oftentimes, it'll take a little bit more for it to be generated, but many times it will go in your favor. All right, let's look at NTES. This was just about a month ago. Obviously, we're in a downtrend, a short-term downtrend. So we want to, the way we've always been taught, when stocks are low, we want to buy. When stocks are up, we want to sell. So obviously, we want to take advantage of a lower market. And on top of that, strategy number 4 generated a buy signal right here. Strategy number 5 generated a buy signal right here. And strategy number 4 generated another one. Now, the first one didn't work out too well, but maybe the second and third are going to work out great. This is where the triple threat comes in. Apply the PET-D and see if those bars are green. Once we do that, well, first of all, you see that it didn't work. But once we apply the PET-D, we see that's why. Because these signals were never confirmed. So even though strategy 4 and strategy 5 have high levels of consistency, sometimes the signals just aren't good. That's the beauty of the triple threat. It will keep you out of a lot of these so that you wouldn't have lost any money anyway. Why? Because you never would have taken the signal. All right, let's look at CVS. This just happened a couple of weeks ago. This was on the 9th. So actually, yeah, it was a couple of weeks ago. Obviously, the stock had been going up. It appears to be overbought, right? So we want to sell. And on top of that, strategy 5 generated a sell signal. So we feel really good about this. But we first have to confirm it. This bar needs to be colored red in order for us to take it. Well, look what happened after that. Had we confirmed it, we would have seen that it was never colored red. It was colored green, telling us that the PET-D, so sensitive in its translation of what the market wants to do, was not confirming that pattern, was not confirming that setup with the candlestick, non-traditional candlestick. So therefore, we would not have taken this and not have lost any money. This is the beauty of the triple threat. Okay, here's that opening chart we shared with you in Viacom. All right, looking back in hindsight, obviously, this has been going straight up since the beginning of the year. How could we have taken advantage of this? Well, let's say you've been studying the work. You see a number of strategy signals here, and you want to confirm your work. Click on the first one, strategy number 4, and click on signal arrow. And you would have seen at the very bottom there were a couple of buy signals. And in the sideways action, when it looked like it was rolling over and going sideways for a week, another buy signal was generated. On top of that, strategy number 5, click on signal arrow. It also generated a buy signal right here. So you had a number of chances to take advantage of this. But in order to take advantage, we would have wanted to confirm all of these setups. Go on the PET-D, and guess what? They were all colored or outlined green, telling you that each and every one of those signals was a high probability setup and that it gave you the go-ahead and the green light to take. So many traders like to look at stocks like this and say, in hindsight, gosh, I always miss these things. How come I can never get a big stock like this? This is how you can do it with the triple threat. Even though we're not promising or guarantee every setup's going to be like this, there are a lot that are like this. And with the filter of the PET-D, you can confirm which ones to take and which ones not to. And potentially you could have captured 50 points. Okay, let's recap. What is the triple threat made up of? Well, 3 of our most high probability methods. The first one is strategy number 4. As I said, this is a method that I use in my own trading. I've been using it now for over 4 decades ago. I was taught this strategy on the floor of the Pacific Stock Exchange by my mentors. It's a pattern recognition strategy, and it only has one job: to identify momentum. Now, the beauty of this is that oftentimes it will generate a signal when it looks as if absolutely nothing is happening. Now, this can be in an intraday chart. It can be on a Bitcoin chart, currency pair, commodity, futures, or stocks, or a weekly chart, monthly chart. It makes absolutely no difference, but this pattern occurs over and over again. Now, threat number 2 is another great strategy we have, very consistent strategy number 5. It's a non-traditional way of looking at candlestick patterns. Now, it's completely different in terms of its market behavior to strategy number 4 in that it won't wait for some type of sideways actions. Oftentimes, you'll see that the market is already taking off, and you'll say to yourself, well, I can't get in now. It's too late. And that's just the time when strategy number 5 may generate a signal, either to the upside or the downside. So its market behavior is entirely different. It's a great way to complement any market environment. But as we just said, there will be times when these signals don't have the best of setups. So how do we kind of filter some of them out? Even though we can't filter out 100%, we can filter out a great many of these by applying the PET-D. This is our translator. It's the most sensitive short-term trend direction tool I know. I use it every day, and what it does is it translates on a tick-by-tick basis what the market wants to do. So even though you may get a setup, either strategy 4 or 5 signal, it may not confirm it, because it may say, hey, listen, I know that the pattern or the candlestick has been generated, but guess what? The market is saying otherwise. So we can keep you out of trouble. When we combine all of these 3 great methods, we have what we call Specialist Trading's triple threat of trading, a way to take your trading up to the next level. So ask yourself, do you think these 3 methods could help your trading for the remainder of 2021? I think if you answer honestly, your answer would be a resounding yes. So because of that, we have a special attendee offer for all of you today, taking time out to come and listen to the webinar. We're going to actually offer you our triple threat special, strategy 4, strategy 5, along with the PET-D. You're going to get instant course access. You'll be able to be up and running as early as today if you'd like. All right. You're going to get the entire course, rules, detailed instruction, plus you'll learn all the entries, all the exits, and all the stops. We also have conservative and aggressive versions as well. And this will also include 4 PET-D trading techniques, different techniques entirely based off of patterns and setups that the PET-D looks for high probability techniques. This is a great, great way to trade with all of these things, okay? But we're not going to stop there. We have an extra bonus that we're including for all the people taking time out of their Wednesday. We're going to offer our PTS Primo charting platform. Remember, you saw how simple it was to trade this triple threat on the platform. All you have to do is click on 4 or 5 or the PET-D. It's that simple. This is teaching you how to trade. Now, 12 months, which we're going to throw in 1 year, would normally cost you close to $1,800. We're going to discount that tremendously. And in fact, we're not going to charge you anything. We're going to give you 12 months absolutely free. So with your purchase of the triple threat course, you're going to get a full year of the platform. Now, one of the best things about this is that there's so much more included on the platform. As you can see here, you're not only getting strategy 4, 5, and the PET-D, but you'll also get the 3 popular features of our proprietary buy and sell line. This tells you what the overall trend is. You'll also get our strength of trend tool, which has a great ability to tell you when a real nice strong uptrend or downtrend is running out of steam. This also comes with auto-generated exit levels. If you look at our Twitter feed today, you'll see that I posted two things, a currency pair as well as a stock, where we had these auto-generated exit levels, what can get you out well before the stock or future currency pair decides to turn in the other direction. But here's the best thing about this. You're also going to get our strategy signal scanner. This is a great way not only to see what the setups are going to be on a nightly basis, you can also scan for other markets and other time frames. For example, let's look at some other markets you could have scanned for. Here are some older examples. Here's one in the British pound. A sell signal was generated. This is a strategy 4 sell signal. You could have scanned for this on a daily time frame, and it was confirmed by the PET-D. The same rules apply. Doesn't matter what market or time frame. The currency pair fell nearly 400 pips. That's close to $4,000 in just a couple of weeks per unit that potentially you could have captured. Here's another example. Here's a 4-hour chart of the Swiss franc. Now, this is a strategy number 5 setup. It's been going up, and even though it's been going up, strategy 5 is saying it's got more room to the upside. So a buy signal was generated, but we confirm it with the PET-D, and it's outlined green, 95 pips in a couple of days. That's roughly about $1,000 per unit. And if you missed that one, look how another one was generated right here. Here's a 10-minute chart of the E-mini futures, all right? We've been going down. The bars are colored red. A strategy number 5 sell signal was generated. Remember, you could scan for this intraday and look at the nice sell signal. And here's another sell signal that was generated. Even though we're in a downtrend, that's the beauty of strategy number 5. So let's break it all down. What are we going to include in this triple threat special? All right, you're obviously going to get strategy number 4, strategy number 5, along with the PET-D. Now, if we broke these down, strategy 4 would cost close to $700. Strategy number 5 would also cost close to $700, and the PET-D would be close to $3,000. So altogether, we're talking about close to $4,400. Now, that doesn't include 1 full year of the platform. If we include that cost, we're talking over $6,100, all right? That's far too much to ask of you, especially some of the new people attending today. We would never ask that much just to get going and to turn your trading around. So here's the discount we have to you. We're going to discount that by 50%. We're not going to charge you for the strategies. We'll only charge you for the PET-D, all right? So the strategies, along with the platform, are entirely free. We're only going to charge you for the PET-D, which is $29.95. That's a 50% discount. Now, if that's still too much for you to come up with in just one lump payment, payment plans are available. You can still, for a small deposit, be up and running and have a monthly fee, and you'll still be up and running with the triple threat. But remember, this is for a limited time only. Many of our students say, well, Steve, you know what? I'm not convinced yet. Let me watch the video and I'll decide. So they take a couple of weeks off, and then they say, gosh, I've lost so much money in the last couple of weeks. If I had had this triple threat, I'm sure I could have done much better. So they call up and they say, hey, I'd love to take advantage of that $29.95 offer. And guess what? It's gone. It goes back up to $6,200. So you don't want to take too much time. This is for a limited time only. We're already into the first quarter of 2021. March is going to be over by next week. Are you going to wait another year to become a consistent trader? Now's the time to invest in yourself. You don't want to be where you are 1 year from now. You want to be that much ahead. A great way to get on board is with the triple threat of trading. Strategy 4, strategy 5, the PET-D, and 1 full year of the platform at a great 50% discount. Take advantage of this. Remember, on top of that, as you see in the bottom, you'll also get educational correspondence. This is my personal email. Will you be able to email me with questions anytime you'd like? If you have a question concerning the triple threat or the PET-D or anything else involved, you can always email me and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. I was answering emails this morning from students back east, also answering emails from students in Europe. So there's lots of ways to contact me in terms of with questions, okay? So educational correspondence is included as your personal mentor. All right, here's how to take advantage of the triple threat discount, a 50% discount. Contact my sister site, Pro Trader Strategies. I would suggest calling them directly at area code 310-598. That link you see below there is the link that will take you up to the sign up page if you'd like to purchase this online. But if you'd like to talk to a trading consultant, there's absolutely no obligation, and you want to get an idea or some type of estimate on a payment plan, I would really suggest calling them at 310-598-6677. And as I said, there's no obligation. They would be happy to work with you and give you some type of a quote. Now, that link that you see on the bottom is not live, but we've just posted a live link in the chat box on the GoToWebinar column. So if you'd like to click that on, you can do that, and you will be well ahead of the game in clicking that as well. Now, as I promised, if you have any questions, now's the time to go to the question and answer box. Just type in whatever is on your mind, and I will be there to answer it right away. Okay. I see a question. Someone is asking, what platforms can this work on? Well, remember, as a student of this, you're going to get our platform. But if you want to use it on your platform, it's all of the major ones. All right. We will supply you with the add-ons for, let's say, TradeStation, Metastock, MT4, NinjaTrader, Sierra Charts, and you can also use it with Thinkorswim. But there are a few slight alterations you have to make because of their accessibility and the way they will let us use our indicators. So we can still do that for you. And here's the great news. We have a great tech support. We have rave testimonials about our tech support. If for any reason you don't know how to do that, we will set that all up for you. In fact, I think that's already included. All of the setup process is done there for you. So there's nothing you have to do. It's all done. And you can, as I stated, you can be up and running as early as today. Okay. Someone is saying, what else is offered on the platform? Well, there's roughly 44 years of insight and things I've accumulated and different techniques and methods on the platform. Another one is a short-term trend identifier, not as good as the PET-D, but it's a pattern-based one called our top-bottom 25%. We also have strategies. As I said, we have the tool, which is our strength of trend tool. There's just lots of great things that you won't find anywhere else. These are tools and techniques that are not available on any other platform. These are things that I have accumulated in my 4 decades and picked up from the trading floor. So only floor traders know what these are, and that's the beauty of them. So this is only found on the platform. Someone is saying my audio wasn't working. Many times that was just because of your feed coming in from the internet, but don't worry, everyone will be sent a link to this recording today. So if you didn't get to hear everything precisely, or if you had to leave early, each and every one of you will get a link to this recording. Okay. Okay. Once again, if I call Pro Trader Strategies, am I obligated to purchase? No. As I stated, there's absolutely no obligation. They would be more than happy to work with you. Just give them a call. They have trading consultants manning the phones right now. You can ask about a trading plan, and just, for a small deposit, you can be up and running. You can be actually up and running as early as today and be emailing me questions as early as today. So this is really a great opportunity. And remember, we're discounting the price by over 50%. And even with that great discount, you could still get in for a small deposit and still be up and running. So this is a great offer. Triple threat are 3 of our best of the best methods. Take advantage of this before it goes right back up to over $6,100, okay? Now, as we conclude here, I just want to thank you once again for taking time out of your Wednesday. And as you take one last look at our disclaimer, thank you so much for attending. I hope you learned a little bit about our philosophy and our way of teaching. I hope you saw our sincerity in really trying to elevate your trading, but most especially, I really look forward to all of you becoming students of mine in the Triple Threat course. Thank you so much. Have a great week, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.